Have you ever met someone, smiled, shook hands, and then realized something strange? You forgot their name almost immediately. You remember their face, you remember the conversation, but the name is gone. If this happens to you often, you are not careless and you are not alone. For many people, forgetting names feels embarrassing, even stressful. Some start to believe they are bad with names, and that belief quietly stays with them. In this video, we are going to explore the psychology behind why some people easily forget names. You will learn what is really happening inside the brain during introductions. You will discover how attention, emotion, and personality play a bigger role than intelligence. And most importantly, you will learn simple, practical ways to remember names more clearly and with less effort. If this topic interests you, subscribe to the channel for more simple psychology that improves everyday life. Now, here are the reasons why this happens. Let's start. Reason 1. Names are abstract and lack meaning. One big reason people forget names easily is that names are simply labels. They often don't carry meaning. Your brain is naturally wired to remember things that have a story, emotion, or clear image attached. For example, it's easy to remember someone's red hat or funny laugh because these details are linked to a mental picture. But a name like John or Sarah doesn't automatically trigger any image or feeling. Without a strong connection, the brain treats it as low priority information. Even if you meet someone interesting, their name can vanish seconds later if it isn't attached to something memorable. That's why people who struggle with remembering names aren't careless. Their brains are simply prioritizing meaningful details over abstract labels. The good news is that once you learn how to create mental links between names and images, your recall can improve quickly. Reason 2. Shallow attention at first meeting. Another major reason is that most name forgetting starts at the very moment of introduction. If your mind is distracted, worrying about what to say, or thinking about something else, your brain doesn't fully encode the name. Even a brief lack of attention, like glancing at your phone or thinking about tomorrow's plans, can make the name vanish instantly. Forgetting names is rarely about laziness. It's about how your brain captures information. Names require focus, but in many social situations, our attention is divided. People who are naturally reflective, shy, or anxious may focus more on social dynamics than on the words themselves. The key point is that memory begins at the moment of first exposure. Without full attention, no amount of later effort can recover the name easily. Practicing mindful listening during introductions can make a huge difference. Reason 3. High social or performance anxiety. For some people, the problem isn't memory itself. It's anxiety. Social situations can feel tense, especially when meeting new people. Your brain goes into alert mode, worrying about being judged or saying something wrong. Anxiety floods your mind with extra thoughts, which leaves less mental space for storing names. Even if you try hard to remember, the stress blocks the memory process. People who are highly self-conscious often feel embarrassed when they forget a name, which creates a cycle. Anxiety leads to forgetting. Forgetting increases anxiety, and so on. Understanding that stress is the real culprit can be freeing. When you approach introductions calmly, without overthinking, your brain can encode names more effectively. Relaxing your focus and paying attention to the person, not the pressure to remember, can make names stick naturally. Reason 4. Overthinking or mental distraction. Some people have minds that are always moving, analyzing, or planning. They might be thinking about what to say next, or replaying past events, even as someone is telling them their name. This overactive thinking interrupts the memory process. The brain can't pay attention to both the name and all the mental chatter at the same time. People who easily forget names often have excellent analytical skills or deep thinking habits. They just aren't focused on the right thing at the right time. The name is introduced, but before it is stored in memory, the mind has already shifted to another thought. Learning to pause mental distractions during introductions, even for a few seconds, can dramatically improve recall. It's not about trying harder, it's about training the brain to notice and hold on to the small, seemingly unimportant details, like a name. Reason 5. Personality traits focused on emotions, not labels. Some people naturally focus on feelings and emotions rather than labels or facts. They notice how someone feels, the tone of their voice, or the energy they bring into the room. While this makes them empathetic and deeply connected to people, it also means names, which are abstract labels, don't register strongly in memory. In other words, the brain prioritizes the emotional impression over the word that identifies the person. Introverts, sensitive thinkers, and highly empathetic individuals often experience this. They remember how someone made them feel, but the actual name floats away. This isn't a flaw, it's simply the way their mind processes social information. The solution is to consciously link the name to the emotional impression expression, like repeating the name aloud or mentally connecting it to the feeling you sensed. This creates a stronger mental connection that improves recall. Reason 6. Weak association between name and face. Memory works best when two things are linked together. If you meet someone but never connect the name to the face in your mind, the name floats away. Many people remember faces easily, but names slip through because the association isn't strong. Without a visual or emotional anchor, your brain treats the name as optional information. The stronger the connection between the face and the name, the easier it is to recall later. People who struggle with names often rely on either the word or the face, but not both together. By actively pairing the two, for example, picturing the person with an object or imagining the name written on their forehead, you help the brain create a stronger memory link. This small step turns a name from an abstract label into a meaningful, retrievable detail. Reason 7. Negative self-belief or memory anxiety. Believing you are bad with names can actually make the problem worse. When you approach introductions thinking, "I'll never remember this," your brain expects failure and pays less attention. Memory is influenced not just by mental processes, but also by mindset. Anxiety about forgetting triggers stress, which blocks short-term memory. People who worry about names often forget more because the fear itself disrupts the encoding process. This is called self-fulfilling memory anxiety. Breaking this cycle requires a shift in thinking. Names are not a test, and forgetting doesn't define you. By approaching introductions with curiosity instead of judgment, your mind relaxes, attention improves, and recall becomes easier. Confidence and calmness, even small, can make a huge difference in remembering names naturally. Reason 8. Cognitive overload in social situations. Finally, social situations often demand more from the brain than we realize. You are processing body language, conversation, context, tone, and other details all at once. This cognitive overload reduces the brain's ability to encode a new name. People who forget names easily often have active social awareness, noticing too many details at once. Their brain prioritizes understanding the person or the situation over storing the verbal label. This is not a flaw, it shows a strong ability to read the room. The key is to consciously allocate some attention to the name itself. Pausing for a moment, repeating the name, or mentally linking it to a visual cue allows the brain to handle multiple inputs without losing the most important piece, the person's name. Tips to improve name recall. Improving name recall does not require a special memory. It starts with small changes in attention. When you meet someone, pause for a moment and truly listen to their name. Say it back naturally during the conversation. This simple repetition helps the brain lock it in. Try connecting the name to a mental image, a sound, or a familiar detail. It does not need to be perfect, just personal. Use the name once or twice while speaking. This strengthens the memory without effort. Most importantly, stay relaxed. Pressure makes memory worse. Treat names as information you can learn, not a test you must pass. With calm focus and practice, name recall improves naturally over time. Forgetting names is not a flaw, it is a signal of how your brain handles attention, emotion, and connection. When you understand this, the embarrassment fades and confidence grows. With simple awareness and gentle practice, remembering names becomes easier than you expect. If this video helped you see your mind differently, subscribe for more simple psychology that improves everyday life. Like the video and share it with someone who always says, "I'm bad with names."